Hey guys, welcome back to another What If here. Today we are doing What If Asta had Mana Control Part 1. You guys wanted this, and this is what you got. And also, in the last Black Clover What If, I didn't kind of mean to do 40 minutes, because it took an hour to render. Oops. Yeah, because if you didn't know, I've got no graphics card at the moment, so... yeah, and you're like, like, then you shouldn't be able to, like, run all that. Well, like, if you're an AMD person, then obviously you'd know no graphics card, no computer, because AMD CPUs, core processor unit, doesn't come with an eGPU or an integrated graphics processor unit. Like enough Intel CPUs do, and I've had Intel since I got my first computer, and when I had my upgrade, like motherboard, CPU, and that, that's all third generation. So I'm very far behind the current generation. I'm like 9 generations behind the current Intel CPUs, and they work perfectly fine. Anyway. Let's actually get into this what if. Yeah. Also, guys, if you're like, we wanted Minecraft, has Minecraft videos for all the guys that wanted Minecraft. Well, that will become much like a graphics card because, rendering, mind you, I do this, I tend to do these in one shot, so it's very little. Like rendering, it's just recompiling the video really, besides from chopping off the start and the end bits where I maybe don't say something for a second or two and where I end. So yeah, and yeah, because I just do that, it generally takes less time, whereas if you actually cut bits out or speed bits up and cut some bits out, it has to then also, it starts to, recompile and go by frame by frame, but it will take longer because it's having to in theory generate a completely new video from scratch. I think so, I don't know, it may take the same amount of time, I don't know, but who knows how long this will be. Hopefully it will be 20 to 30 minutes long. Anyway, with my rambling over, let's actually truly get into this. And sorry for the ramble, guys. Alright, so we'll start with Asta, of course, who will be kind of what happened in canon, just what happened in canon, who'd still be given to the orphanage, or the church/orphanage. Well, both. Yeah. As I don't see. Of course, what if Asta had anti-magic Hurley? There's not really kind of need to have Asta stay with his mum. So he still would be, of course, in the orphanage, and up until the age of 4, I think if they ever reveal anything from 1 up until 4 or beyond 4, but yeah, up until he's around 4 years old, I think it would go the same. So I'd say around 3 to 4 years old, or from around, say, when they're 3 up until, say, probably 10, 11, they will find out what their magic attribute is. Yeah, attribute is. So for course, he would awaken to, of course, him having wind magic, the of course ability to control wind, and that, or yeah. Of course, everyone kind of just thinks, poor Asta, you haven't, it seems like, it seems like, well, yeah, they'll just say, "Oh, it seems like you don't have any magic, Asta." It's like, well, I do. It's like, and go, well, you do always know when I'm coming up, and you've always been able to sense me, so it must be true that you have magic, but yeah. Maybe you have like an infinity that requires a grimoire to actually utilise. As he kind of thinks, so you're thinking something like some like teleportation or yeah, some like teleportation type magic. As goes, well, yeah, maybe something like that. And so I was just like, I'm just gonna go off. I just need some time to think about some stuff. As he would go off to his training area, as he would kind of just start kind of wondering why, why it's so hard. And yeah, but I still don't have magic, and and he's just like, why? And yeah, yeah, and he kind of just thinks, well, maybe, if I give it a shot, as he kind of thinks really hard about, fire, like fire, as, because he'd read up, mind you, or he'd hear stories, and maybe, his father-in-law or whatever, he'd be to Asta. He'd tell Asta stories, or them all, stories, and how maybe if you don't awaken your affinity, there's another way to see if you just do kind of have magic, just trying to imagine, say, if you have maybe if you haven't awakened, trying to do some fire, wind, water, earth, the basic natures, and if one of them comes in, you do it just wasn't a, you just have to kind of think about it a lot more compared to people that just awaken to it at random. Yeah, so Asta kind of tries, as he then goes, it seems like I don't have any, but he goes, come on, fire, as he would try again, as he would start thinking, the basic elements for fire, fuel, a fuel source, and, ignition, as he thinks kind of hard, as then he kind of, his hand feels warm a bit as he looks over, as he sees fire, and he's like, what? I have fire magic, but it didn't work the first time. I think maybe I've got more. Because what he's realising is that, well, what he doesn't know is that he actually has mana control, which means that he can control mana itself. So I would say when, of course, mana is, also in the air and that, so instead of when, of course, most people breathe in, of course, they'd breathe in mana, and the mana would be absorbed and thus then transformed from mana into magic, or as it's been absorbed, it's been transformed into magic. It's been transformed into NP. Well, yeah, just call it NP. And then, of course, that for, say, a little bit of mana, there's a lot of NP. Well, yeah, all these stuff to use magic, or a less pure mana, so it's less pure. Because say raw mana could kill, would kill, say, anyone, because it would be deadly, pure. Breathing in pure oxygen for us would kill us, because we can't handle it. Yeah. And so, Asta would kind of think, it's just trying to think, what does water need, right? he would just kind of think about, water. He would think, like, so that, of course, he would then start being able to sense something moving inside of him, which was, of course, mana flow. Not magic flow, but mana flow. As he has mana inside of him instead of magic. But it's been, of course, converted to magic from, like, say, his skin. So if he needs, say, like, when he's asking, like, say, for, like, to do water, his mana is, of course, flowing into into his hand, and then his hand is then converting it from, like, mana to magic, and then to the correct attribute, which would be carried with the mana, which would go, hey, he's currently asking for water, water magic, water to appear on his hand, and then, of course, he'd open his eyes and he'd see water on his hands. Then he'd try wind and, all the other natures. He'd try, like, light and dark, but that wouldn't exactly work. As they're not in, like, no, he won't. That won't work, as he just doesn't really understand how that works. He needs to kind of understand the basic principles for that to work. Yeah. So, yeah. But as he gets, of course, older and he starts to understand more of the elements, he'll also be able to control it better. And the more he knows of an element that he can't use, the more likely he'll be able to use it and to then manipulate. Well, maybe not manipulate magic that's being thrown at him, but he can at least generate the magic then for himself to be able to use. But yeah. But he'll be able to do, like, when he gets his actual grimoire, then his grimoire would actually be the one that tells him that, hey, you've got mana control, not, like, some type of lucky, like, 4-5 magic affinity type luck. So yeah. And he'd get kind of excited, so he'd run back, and go and tell everyone that he's got, like, he'd tell oracles the energies has got wind, water, earth, fire, lightning. Don't know if I'm missing any other nature out. Don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so, because, like, light and darkness, he kind of doesn't understand. Well, yeah, you won't really understand, light and how light is produced and that, so he can't really use, like, magic yet. But, as I said, as he gets smarter, he will kind of be able to. Yeah. And, oh wow, Asta, you're so lucky that you've got all four, all 5, nature attributes. And yeah, and it's like, and the piece like, well, yeah, you're lucky, but it's strange, I still don't feel like an ounce of magic from you, because like, people would emulate some type, very small amount of their magic off of them. So if it's constant, like, if they're constantly breathing in mana to convert to magic, they have to bleed off the excess magic. Thus, they can't, like, you can kind of sense them like that. And what kind of type, if you're good enough, you could sense what type of magic they've got. So yeah, and I was just like, well, I don't know. Mario goes, well, I don't know why you can't send to me still, but at least I've got magic. And was, like, he would grow up as he would, well, yeah, he'd read about, he would learn, he would be taught how to read, and then he'll, he'd go through books on, like, like wind, water, earth, lightning, as it's like, why are you looking through books, Asta? Like, it's a bit weird that you look, looking through books. As Asta go, well, the more you know, like, about your, say, elemental affinity, or your magic, like, your magic affinity, the more, say, stuff you may be able to do with it without a grimoire. Because, like, currently I can summon, water, I can do that, but, like, if I get to know more of my element from books and that, the more likely I'll be, like, the more stuff I may be able to do without one. Because, like, grimoires, of course, will help you, or, have spells and that. But you may not need a grimoire to come up, maybe, with spells, or be able to manipulate stuff. And, well, plus, like, who knows, what else you could do with your, wind besides from, doing a breeze. Yeah. And just like, who knows, maybe you'll be able to, like, heat, heat your wind up, so it's like, ridiculously hot wind, or say, like, make your wind very cold so it freezes someone, or that, who knows, yeah. Because there's a lot you can do, but you just need to start understanding. As in, it's like, well, I don't know. I think, grimoires, like, will, like, do all of that. As like, well, you do you and I'll do me. We'll just find out. Yeah, we'll just have to find out one day, won't we? Well, well, yeah. And, well, yeah, don't look until they're, like, where the kind of anime starts. Or, yeah, like, it's a day before they get, I think it's a day or two before, I think generally it's a day before, I don't know, but it'd be a day before they get their grimoires, before they go to the grimoire tower. And, yeah, of course, Asta can at least manipulate the ground a bit. He can also, like, he can use, like, his air to, he can at least manipulate the air to make, like, a weak but thin, like, shield in front of him, or even around him. You can do the same with his, like, same with water, and he can make, like, small fireballs and that. And, like, with his lightning, he can, well, I don't really know what you could do with lightning. Well, yeah, besides I'm obviously paralysing anyone. Well, yeah, well, he'd be able to make a, like, lightning shield, like, well, yeah, a lightning shield, but it he tends to have it slightly further away from him, because obviously the lightning is kind of, like, arcing all over the place, so, yeah, he tends to have it slightly wider, with generally another barrier surrounding him, like a wind barrier done with lightning, so if the lightning does art towards him, the wind barrier will block it. So, yeah. And he's also kind of realised that he can, like, almost do like an invisible barrier, but he hasn't really, like, attempted that. Like, he's done it once, but he's, like, really never done it again, as he's kind of, like, confused on how he did it first time. But yeah, well, he'd still do his push-ups and that, because he doesn't, want to rely too much on his magic. He, because, well, yeah, cause the stronger physically you are, if you have a sword or that, you can still hit someone the same amount of strength, even without relying on magic or that. Magic or mana to increase your strength. So yeah. And of course Asta, oh yeah. I'm kind of thinking, do I, oh yeah. Oh no, I guess it would be up to you guys. I'll leave a poll, like, if you go to my community tab, there'll probably be a poll there saying, do you guys want Asta to have anti-magic? Like, do you, of course, want Asta to have the 5-leaf grimoire? I'm curious. Because if you say yes, then he'll have 2 grimoires, but, yeah. I've got ways to get around that. Yeah. But yeah, of course, and, well, because by this point, no, not Noel, oh damn it, I forgot the name of the bird. As of course Nero slash I forgot her human name, but Nero, would take an interest in him. Well, she's still watching or looking after the 5-leaf grimoire. She's also, she's interested in this boy. Like, she doesn't feel the magic from him, yet he can, summon fire, water, earth, lightning, and wind. I forgot about wind, yeah. And she's like, she'd be curious, what else could he do? Yeah, and he's like, what, how? I don't feel no magic from him. Like, why is this? Yeah. But, yeah. And, yeah, of course, like, when you can use magic, of course, your senses are heightened, but they are also kind of dulled at the same time. Meaning, when you are like new to magic, of course, like, you can sense magic and even the mana in the air, but you slowly start to kind of read out the mana in the air and leave only like the magic in the people. Yeah. And well, yeah, and she's kind of thinking, well, maybe you can use like mana, but that's stupid. He'd be the first one. I would be able to use like mana, to like just pure mana. He'd be the first one ever, and it makes sense because once a person can use magic, like, their sense is kind of dull, so they lose the sense to lose the sense to sense mana, but they gain the ability, while they more so hone it on for people, like they more so only try and sense magic from people instead of mana. Yeah, because obviously if you try and sense mana, you've got mana all around you, so it's not helpful. But yeah, so most people tend to only focus on and train, like, magic, sensing magic in people. And so, like, yeah, because, Asta would go through his, like, normal training ritual, which would be like, and I think it's like around 1,000 to 1,000,000 like push-ups and whatever you would do in his spare time. It should do like a couple of runs, but I think he mainly focused on his like body strength, so he would generally do like push-ups, sit-ups, anything to increase his overall strength he'll do. And yeah, and of course he'd go over, they'd talk about, and they'd hope that both of them, yeah. It'd go, I hope you get, a strong, I hope you two, successful tomorrow, because don't forget, you two be at the edge to go to the tower to get your grimoires, and then, off you go, and then you'll be able to go off and hopefully sign up for the Magic Nights, and hopefully you pass that too. And they both kind of agree, hopefully they do. And then, of course, they'd finish up what they were eating. like if they do have a bath for that, but they probably do, and then obviously they go to sleep, and then the next day. So yeah, there's like and Asta kind of walk into that I was just like, I hope I get a strong grimoire, I hope I get a 4-leaf grimoire. I'll be fine with a 3-leaf, but I'll be happy if I get, the 4-leaf grimoire. Like, not many people have them, and goes, well, I think it's safe to say that you probably will get a 4-leaf grimoire, because, like, come on, Asta, you've got, you can use the 5 natural elements. So it's, it'd be quite weird if you don't get a 4-leaf grimoire. Yeah. They're kind of like, so I was like, well, yeah, but, a 3-leaf to 4-leaf, I'll be happy with. And they, of course, walk in the person, well, he kind of, he does his talk, and then, of course, the grimoires then start, of course, flying all over the place once he's finished. Yeah, as of course, like, there's only 2 people don't have theirs yet. As of course, would get his, which would, of course, be a green one, emulating a nice kind of green aura. And of course, like Asta looks at as sees it's a 4-leaf grimoire. Well, they both would. So that's just like, well, lucky, as he puts his hand up. Come on, where's mine? As he kind of like just pours in mana into his hand or that, just wondering, would that help? As he's gotten better at sensing what's going on in his body, that kind of like. Yeah, he kind of thinks, I can sense like magic flowing in people, or like in himself. That's what he thinks, but he's sensing the mana instead. He's sensing like the mana movement inside of him. And yeah, and of course, then another bright light shines. Of course, encompassing like the entire building, pretty much. It's so bright. Anyone that would look over to see where the kind of all this, like the light is coming from, would like have to like close their eyes, and even then, they would still like see white, as it's just incredibly bright. That almost rhymes. Yeah. Yeah. And. Well, and then of course the light starts fading away, and as that's just like, you're like, hey, I got a grimoire, I got my grimoire. I wonder what it says, because all grimoires, will tell, would say what the man, either in, well, yeah, like it'd be green for, wind, but it would also say like, wind magic, or say like wind control or something like that. So there's like the nature wind, and then there's like, say, stuff inside of wind that someone may be able to do. Yeah, but of course, Asta, of course, you can feel it at least in his hands that he's got a grimoire. But as he kind of opens his eyes from, of course, now the light, like just disappearing, kind of sees it's a like almost like white / grey, like greyish book, as he of course with a 4-leaf grimoire with 4 clovers on it, as Asta kind of shoves it in face, going, see, I got one like yours. And as it's like, what does that say? As it's like, oh right, let me just read it. As he looks over, and he like sees like like it says magic attribute, and instead of seeing a list, which he may think, because he could use wind, water, lightning, wind. I think I said that twice. Fire. yeah, instead of seeing like those and maybe some others you may not know of, it just says one word, mana control. And he kind of like says it to, you know, he's like, can you read this to, just so, and tell me it, just so that, just to confirm that I'm not imagining what that says. And you know, it's like, sure. It says magic attribute, as he kind of goes wide eyes. Mana control. So you've got mana control. That means you can use pretty much like any element. You know, like any type of magic. As long as you think about it, you could probably use it. Yeah. I'd probably say any, maybe except for time magic. I'd say time magic uses, like, you know, would use something that, like a different type of, probably magic in itself. Yeah. Because it's pretty OP, time magic is. Yeah, and you know, Asta would be, of course, he'd kind of just be wondering that, just be kind of like, he'd be happy, but he now knows what he can do, but he's also like, he's like, well, is it good? Is it bad? He thinks to himself, as this is where I'm going to end it. So in the next part could be, more or less, will be where they go to the magic night to, of course, to get chosen to do the magic night's entrance exam. Yeah, to be able to, you know, to be chosen, you know, to be a magic knight. And yeah. So if you guys have enjoyed this, if you enjoyed it so much and you want to see more just like this, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next 44 video, depending on what I do, and hey, goodbye.